Well, the thing with the panic button is you gotta hold it down for like 5 seconds or something, so if you accidentally bump it.
I set it off during safety.
You must have really hit it.
Just grab it.
You gotta hold it in for a little bit.
Wow.
Plus this
All the reports and stuff coming out?
it's a new camera.
You still do that, right?
Yeah, but we won't be once this is done. They're coming back tomorrow and it'll record. It's not done being hooked up yet.
Yep.
So that's probably gonna go back.
For our comments.
Updates on everything.
My video feed.
The latest camera.
Yeah, a little bit of a delay there, isn't there?
That, yes, there is. To some COVID results, to some kind of pressing.
Yeah, it went like this.
Moves around. Things a lot of light.
I thought it was a little one on the clock. It's a big one up here.
Yeah, it's a light.
It's alive!
Moving when you do that?
Does it move on its own, or you have to direct it?
Yeah, the direct. You wanna know if it moves on its own.
What's that?
You have to direct.
I waited all day to reply. I thought,
Oh,
there's
never.
nothing else to do, so write me back.
I know, I will. I was really busy with meetings, but I will.
Whatever works for you, we're really easy to please, so.
I've never had
I'll chat
an
and figure it out.
Yeah, some people like to go right along, sometimes you're like, dude, I got 20 minutes, give me
No,
the.
I would like to do the right one. That'd be good.
I think really to carry so much stuff, kind of like, why would, it's gonna be so nice when we go out. I kind of saw this, and all these houses built, and this is what they do, so yeah, whatever works for you.
Hi.
Nice to see you, mate.
Yeah, you did. I'm here. I'm here.
Come on.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Am I here?
Yep. I stand here. Careful, you don't fall out of the
Yeah.
sky.
We can give you one bit of advice, and be careful where that corner
Okay,
is.
Yeah.
good to know.
Lee put the orange tape up for me. You
Good,
got where you
good to know.
I didn't fall right over, which.
Well, I do like to move my seats, so I don't know if I'm the best
Well,
one.
at your place, you should get one of those like wire strip covers and just tack it down there. Nice.
Yeah.
I got this one.
Okay, yeah. We'll just go over the look at the beginning. You
Oh.
have to read it.
So, we're gonna, we wanna take pictures.
No, I don't know. Around here, we never know for sure.
Yeah, no, I
Wow.
Yes.
I get to sit next to me.
I went to, last week for Christmas.
Oh, right.
The 21st.
M&M.
Is it like 5 times as long here now?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
This is like being at my wife was there last week.
I would probably tackle you, just balled out tackle you on the floor. If you just sit there, it is.
I don't want to be on camera.
Full shot the whole time.
This one back, you know that we call them together, actually came
I'm not answering your line of questions.
This is the guy actually that.
Wow, listen to her tone. Yes, it's still in my office, in my garage, so I'll run it over.
Oh, you do have?
Yeah.
That sounds
We
great.
used it,
Were you covering?
no, we used it for the lunch thing that we did.
Oh, the garage down there. Oh,
That's got
I don't
stairs.
think we
She's
have.
doing it for her.
Well, that's the,
Yeah, you came in
Normal
right
time
here.
or about building.
I know.
Right.
My kids are in there.
Yeah, if I get them all,
Like 30%
well,
of your
I don't know.
Oh, you don't like them, huh?
So,
Something in the upgrade model.
Learning.
Linda Wilson?
I will ask you in 6 months, I bet you.
Oh, I'm talking about later, I'd like to find out.
I thought you gotta get that.
Actually,
Gotta get both?
yeah.
We can.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I've got the best, because I'm right now.
Oh, it's right by my
It just, it refuses to bring it up.
Remember you guys were
Come up
So he had to make use of it somehow.
our, Frontier, but it won't come
Well, you
through.
got Frontier.
So I gotta come through here.
Oh.
I don't know if I get it all on here, but.
Say,
Yeah, I
sometimes
could
you can sign into my iPad.
Mark told me.
no, they give you a prompt, but no, you choose it.
I hate my mail.
Red line then?
we're hanging things on the walls now, just gonna put together a couple things to play with. Yeah, we've got, computers, phones are all working.
I had Frontier do a phone line.
We don't have.
People that have been on have said, this is so much nicer.
Tell me, what else?
Offices
You have the killer.
like, this is probably the nicest small town agency we've seen, as far as for having good quality stuff and layout, it's really nice.
All right, so first, before we start the meeting, I have to swear everybody in. So, if, I guess, the three of you want to stand up. And then just kind of read after me. I, let's say your name,
Thomas Carter.
do solemnly swear to support
the
the Constitution of the United States,
The Constitution of the State of Minnesota. To discharge faithfully the duties of the office of City Council of the City of Kenyon, Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome to the exciting world of city council.
And mayorship.
Yes.
Is everybody pretty well ready? Go for it. We'll start by doing the pledge of allegiance. And remember you have here if you can. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this is the agenda for a special city council meeting of January the 12th, 2021. And this, we'll have to do virtual again. Mayor Henke is here. Dan Reginald,
Present.
Tom Guard.
Here?
Mary Bailey is on a vacation, but is she gonna try to get in on Zoom?
Let me double check real quick.
In the meantime, Molly Ryan,
Here.
okay. City Administrator Mark Paulson.
Here.
City Attorney Scott Riggs.
Here.
City Engineers Joe Ryan.
Here.
Gary Crolander.
Here.
Assistant Administrator Holly is here, and we have Chief Lee here.
Here.
So I guess we got pretty well everybody in presence that I'm aware of. We will do citizens' comments if there are any. Anybody else on citizens' comments? If there isn't, we will move on. Adopting the agenda. Is there anything that should be replaced or taken off of the adopted agenda?
I have two items to add. Under new business D, I would like to add KMU superintendent utilizing old or former police chief office in that building. He just would like to get a, just get have the council talk about it and just get a quick approval, because he wants to move into that office. And then the other item would be under legal, E would be to add a resolution. It would be 2103. And that would be dealing with that land donation from Sunstone to the city of Kenyon, 111 Gates Avenue. So those are the two additions I have.
What one would that be?
That would be legal, E under legal,
Oh, okay,
Savion LLC donation.
okay.
The city attorney's asked me to add a resolution, which also has an agreement to it. It's part of it.
Okay.
Right. So. Yep, that's it.
make a motion on that then, to change?
Yeah, need a motion to adopt the agenda with the noted conditions.
I so move.
Second?
Okay, a motion's been made for, to adopt the agenda with the new added items to it. And again, we have to go through virtual. Mayor Hemke is an aye. Dan Ritchie,
Aye.
Tom Guard.
Aye.
Mary Bailey, you never did get a hold of her, did you?
No, she,
Okay. And Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Ayes passed. Okay, next one on there is the consent agenda and approval of the minutes and the appointments and also financial.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda along with those other items.
We'll second that.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Again, we do it. Mayor Hemke is an aye. Dan Ritchie.
Aye.
Tom Guard.
Aye.
Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Ayes passed. As approved. Okay, next one is presentations, public hearings, recognitions and proclamations. So we do have some presentations tonight, and that is for councilman, past councilman, two of them, and that is Richard Nielsen and John Mortensen. John, if you'd like to come up, we have something for you. Sound cool? John, this is for you as kind of time for you spending here on the council time. Appreciate what you've done, and the clock. And this is also for Richard Nielsen too, so Richard is not here, but Chief Lee will be delivering it for you, for him, I should say. So we appreciate what you've done.
Thank you.
And hope all is going well for you.
Yep.
And we'll see you on some of the other EDA.
Yep.
So take care.
Okay.
Thank you. And Chief Lee will be delivering Richard Nielsen his tomorrow probably. If you
Yep,
can
in the
find
morning.
time in between coffee breaks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Between donuts.
He understands. Okay, well, we'll go on then. If everything is fine, we'll start with engineering, which is the Red Wing Avenue project update. So, which one of you gentlemen are gonna go for it?
I'll take it from here. Really, pretty quick updates for this month. As you're probably aware, with the cold weather, not much is going on anymore. So with respect to the Red Wing Avenue project, the overwhelming majority of this pay request number 8 for the $118,000 is really more of an adjustment for the retainage. So if you remember on previous pay applications, we always have 5% retainage of whatever is due to the contractor that the city retains. A couple of years ago now, I believe it is, state statute changed that basically said after a project is substantially complete, you have to reduce that retainage down to 1% plus a couple other rules that apply to adjust it beyond the 1%. So most of this payment just applies to that retainage adjustment. Like I said before, that total amount of that pay request is $118,085.38, and we'd be looking for a motion to approve that.
You need a motion? I motion that we approve the pay request number 8 for $118,085.38 to Wenzel Construction.
Second?
Okay, a motion has been made and second for a pay request for Wenzel Construction. statewide motion. So Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members Dan Richardo,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
Molly Ryan,
Aye.
aye. Ayes passed, good gentlemen. Okay, number 2 is B, is Ida Kenyon Business Park and Utility Extension Project status update.
Sure. So if you've been out to the site or driven past it, you can see in the last couple of weeks of work, that site changed quite a bit. They, over the last couple of weeks before Christmas, they did a lot of grading work and have all that work pretty much done. Really, the only remaining major item that's left for next year would be the construction of that roadway, Angle Drive. So Angle Drive will be, it's all cut down to subgrade right now and basically ready to receive rock and stabilizing aggregate. But that work will commence next spring once the ground is gone back out. So other than that, other than the grading on site, that's really been the extent of, the work that's happened out there over the past month. So in terms of action items on the agenda here tonight, first of which is third pay request. This should be the last pay request for the next couple of months before they start up with work again. The majority of this payment is for that site grading work, which is about 95% complete. So pay estimate number 3, the amount of $243,266.67. Just looking for a motion to approve that one.
I will move approval, pay estimate number 3, in the amount $243,266.67.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion made, and second, for pay request number 3 for A1 Excavating Company Incorporated, I should say. Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members Dan Richardo,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
and Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, ayes passed, it gets paid. And then there
So
also,
one more thing with the business park project, the other thing on there was change order number 4
yes,
for that project. So this is really more of a contract housekeeping type of item. The original contract that was drawn up and that the contractor put together the bids for contained a milestone completion date of November 30th for them to finish up with all their grading, all the utilities on site, basically everything that's now done was to be done by November 30th. The reason why we put November 30th in there is because that's the typical late completion date in this area for this type of work. Really, the intent of that completion date was to make sure that they get a substantial portion of the work done in 2020. Since the weather actually allowed them to work later, they took advantage of that, and they actually ended up finishing up on December 23rd, day before Christmas Eve. So what the contractor is just requesting is just that they have something in writing that they're not going to get charged liquidated damages for this 23-day overage, which again wasn't really the intent of the original contract to begin with. So change order number 4 basically just removes those that completion date from the contract now that that work is done. So those liquidated damages are on the cost of the contract.
that sounds reasonable. Look, they really worked their tails off there on the very end there and got it pretty well leveled out and everything. It looks pretty good now. So at least the snow covered it up.
Yeah. There you go.
So, okay, there is, on the change order number 4, I'll make the motion on that, eliminate the, what is that, milestone C completion date, is that what it is?
Yes. Milestone C.
I believe it is what it is.
I'll second.
It is correct?
Milestone C, yes.
Okay. Okay, a motion been made, second, for change order number 4. Is there any other discussion on it? If not, Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members Dan Richel,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, ayes passed on the change order number 4. Okay, is there anything else you have on engineering that, or,
That's it for this one, sir.
okay. We'll go on then to, legal. And, Attorney Lakes, you wish to bring that up or anything, or
Well, the first two items, I think you could just move forward,
just
the
drop?
appointments and, the appointments and designations. Under legal A, 21 appointments, you could just, I move ahead with that, he doesn't really have any comment on
And then just one clarification, under 6C, depository, the Security State Bank of Kenyon, correct?
that. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just to clarify, Security State. Otherwise, I will move approval of all of those appointments under A.
We have to do that under the resolution, 2021-01.
No, it's
Does
separate.
that have to be special?
Yeah, that's a separate motion.
Okay. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion on it, is there anybody? Okay, then we'll do the 2021 appointments and designations.
You have to roll first, you gotta vote.
Right.
You have to vote.
Yeah, I am. So,
Since we're not doing it soon, could we just do it?
Mayor Henke is an aye, council members Dan Richel,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
and Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, that passed. So now we got resolution 2021-01, establishing license fees and compensation. Is there anything in particular on that to be brought up?
No, there's very little change from last year. We tried to keep it the same.
Okay. There's a motion made on that then?
I motion 2021-01.
You approve? Okay. Somebody
I
gonna
second.
Okay, second, motion's been made and second. On resolution 2021-01. Again, sorry about this. Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members Dan Richel,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
Mary, or Molly Ryan, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Okay, that passed. Okay. Does that cover all of the annual fees too then, license? Or is
Yeah.
that separate too?
Well, then C is separate, annual licenses.
Okay, go through that one then.
I'll move approval of the 14 annual licenses under letter C.
Okay. We'll second that one then. And again, go by vote, which is Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members Dan Richel,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, that's passed. I'm gonna go to D, which is spending money. Kennedy, Raven, 2021 rates for legal services. Mr. Riggs, you have anything to say?
Other than this is the annual letter that we provide to you. We are raising it just very slightly. I thought John would stay to give me a bad comment as well, but he didn't. But yeah, this is the same thing I'm doing with every other city, so.
Well, we still remember that, what, $3.50? Good number of years back.
Yep.
So, okay, well, I'll make the motion that we pay them their legal services for what they want. Need a second on that, if there is?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion made and second for Kennedy and Raven 2021 rates for legal services. Again, Mayor Henke is an aye, council members Dan Brachigo,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
Molly Ryan,
Aye.
okay, ayes pass.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, here's another good one. Savon LLC donation of 111 Gates Avenue to the city. Now, there is a resolution on that one too, and that's the one that we have to go as 2021-03,
Yes.
okay? Is everybody familiar with what that's about? Molly, are you
No.
familiar with it?
I'm not.
Okay,
So, this is a site that is located just east of the Public Works, if you know where the Public Works building is, right east or just maybe northeast, abutting it, or, right next to it is a 2-acre site that the city did previously own, and it was sold to Chris Henke, and he operated a cement concrete business. Henke sold out to Semstone. So Semstone has had this probably, 2 years, maybe 3 years. And they contacted us in October and said they would like to donate it back to the city. So, to be honest with you, I don't see any downside in accepting it back again. The cement processing equipment was removed by Henke. There's still a concrete block building on that site, but I would recommend that the council would accept the donation and figure out kind of if we want to use it for public works, or, try to redevelop it for another, commercial use or whatever the case might be.
Wayne, do you have any ideas on what you could use that land for, or?
I'd like to use it because it's got one driveway in, so we could put our good piles of gravel, sand, whatnot, and then put a gate across the driveway to kind of have like a secured storage site, so to speak. We could use the ramp they made for getting to the mixers. We could use it as a bunker. So it's got value to us to use if we're allowed to.
Yeah, as a resident up in that area, I understand what the city was trying to do with the cement plant business, but it definitely did not fit. It was, trucks going every minute down that little residential street. It just didn't, it was not an appropriate spot there, so I think it is far better in the hands of the city and something that the Public Works or utilities or whoever in the city can use it for that purpose, far more appropriate for that neighborhood.
yeah, I can see the city using it for some of it, but that's quite a large area. We also now have an industrial park, which we did not have at that particular time, that it was purchased by Henke. And I think that we could somehow add that to the industrial park in time to come, or at least look into it. And there would also be access for roads and that going out the other location that we have, so that it does not have to go back down Second Street. And I certainly do understand Dan's feelings on it, and also the people up in that area. It did create quite a lot of dust in that with it, so I hope that we can look forward to utilizing that piece of property.
Yeah, from the map, it looks like it's very close to the New England Drive, so that, if they're But, and otherwise, I think if there is, a good valid purpose for the city to utilize that land, if it can be utilized, we should, we can do that in the meantime anyway.
I agree with that. Okay,
So I didn't see, I don't think I saw a resolution.
No, it was just, passed out.
yeah, it just was put in,
We just got it from Scott after review.
Yeah, what you have before you,
handwritten
Dan,
in, Dan.
yeah, what you have is, it's just a very simplistic resolution. By statute, we have to have a resolution for any donation the city receives, and you've used one like this before, and it's 2 pages, but the majority of it is the legal description for the property. Attached to that is a very simplistic donation agreement. Essentially, it's a purchase agreement for the property. It's 3 pages long, and it really just says, city's accepting the donation. And all we'll need to follow up from this, check title, and from that point, it's a deed and the affidavit of the company. So it's a very simplistic closing as well.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion on that one, on resolution 2021-03.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on it? Dan, you're looking, you got any discussion?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, a motion's been made and second on resolution 2021-03. Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members Dan Retchell,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
and Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, ayes passed, we got the property back. Okay, item number F is a review draft amendments or ordinance section 845-01 on regulation of trees within the city. And I, Mark, you and Ryan, or Wayne have discussion on this?
Yes,
If you
yes.
tell us about it.
Wayne and I have been looking at mostly Wayne, at the tree ordinance, and we have found there's some revisions that we'd like to see made to it, dealing with permitting. Right now, it requires permits for trees we put in the boulevard, which has never been utilized. And also to try to have adopted or a list of tree species. We also have some other miscellaneous language dealing with tree sizes, small, medium, large. We'd like to change that just to boulevard trees and, boulevard trees and
Boulevard trees and yard trees.
yard trees, thank you.
So it kind of relates to the size of trees and type of trees.
Yep, yep.
I worked with a friend of mine he's a DNR forester on some of this, because it was talked about with all the trees that were removed off Red Wing Avenue, about just trying to, people want to replant. And that we just kind of clean up the rules, and our old, policy is kind of vague. Some of these tree species we don't want planted in the boulevards, like you see, they push on the sidewalks and they push on the curbs and they ruin our investment into the streets. Other types are like black walnuts, pine trees, they grow out into the road, or they leave fruit and nuts that drop into the road and whatnot. So just kind of limit some of that stuff that can be planted in the boulevards.
We go through a couple other things here. I had also spoken with Wayne a little bit this afternoon on this as well. There might be a couple other suggestions for some additional detail.
Height.
to add into the-
Of trees, clearance from, 16 to 17 or 18 feet, so trucks can get underneath for trees that grow over the street, over the street.
Mhm.
Just some minor things like that. It's mainly just minor changes, so.
There's a couple other things that I've seen in in other cities as well that specify distances that the curb can be, or that the tree can be placed from the curb line or from the
Yeah,
sidewalk
setback.
or even from a property line, like to account for utilities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing, I won't win a popularity contest with this one, but I personally would not like to see trees in the boulevard at all, period. There's a lot of cities that do not have it. You look at, the next couple of years, there will not be a problem, but as the trees get bigger, we start seeing deterioration of sidewalks, we start seeing deterioration of curbing. We also have trimming that we have to have at a certain height for vehicles to go through. I just personally feel, I like trees, don't take me wrong on that, but I just feel that that is one thing that we could stop now and continue on going forward. No trees in the boulevard.
If I could add one comment too, just to follow up to the mayor's point, that is true. There are a number of cities that have that type of provision that they are not allowed in boulevards nor in utility easements, which kind of gets to the point that I think Wayne was raising, and Mark mentioned, that that's the reason there's a permit required. So you do not conflict with any type of easement usage that's in there with utilities, and that is a concern. You can have a problem with that. And I know, Derek and Joe can comment on this. It's one thing to fill it up with trees, but if there's a line that has to go through, all those trees gotta come out, and it's a higher cost for everybody who wants that to happen. So it's a real balancing of what you wanna do with it, but that is the reason that provision's there. I know we don't use it that much, but maybe it can be modified or something that people are at least checking to make sure you're not dropping it into an easement that is actually in use or would be in use. That is a concern.
And I was open for a complete discussion on this. Like you said, I'm not against trees, I just want to protect our investment. We do have a significant cost trimming trees every year also.
Not only that, but even, I'm just saying, the trees, regardless if it's on the property itself, but in the boulevard, with some of these large trees, the leaves fall, it gets down into the storm sewers, and it just creates a lot of problems. Now, in my travels, I've seen places where they do not have the trees, and it looks, after it once gets developed, and that, I think it looks pretty neat. Instead of having one big tree, a small tree, part of it's cut off for whatever reason, you're kind of butchering up those trees, and it doesn't give it a good view of the whole neighborhood. So that's why I feel, personal feeling only, don't have any trees, don't allow them on the boulevard.
Other than aesthetics, I agree with everything that's been said here, and it totally makes total sense. I love trees, and the look of trees and all that, but everything that's been said, I completely agree with, so, yeah, I lean towards that as well.
Are there trees that, when you talk with your DNR context, that have minimal impact if they're in the boulevard?
There is types, and he gave me an example of, at St. Louis Park, they have their list of trees they call yards, and then they have their trees that are called for like boulevards. And then, I think in Jake's email, he lists out, and he gives reasons why. Like some of the maples have shallow roots, so that's what they start heaving sidewalks and whatnot. You have the black walnuts, the apple trees, like white pines, they grow wide at the bottom base, so they rub on cars and impede the sidewalks, stuff like that. Giant cottonwoods. Other things he talks about is like elm trees and ash borer with Dutch elm disease. They always like to see variety. Just in case of a new disease comes out, you don't wipe out a whole city block because the trees were infected. But there is possible types of trees. It's just really tough with, I think between our curb line and our sidewalk on parts of that street on Redmond, we got 3 to 4 feet. And in the middle of that is the sub drain, it's 1.5 feet below the surface of the ground. I think in years, trees will wreak havoc on that new stuff we just put in.
So the, Mayor, the way you're looking at it is that there wouldn't be trees allowed, so like, would that be for like the right of way from the center of the street going how far into a yard? Would be just to the sidewalk?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just from the curb.
The patch of grass between the curb line and this.
Yep, just that boulevard
Yeah,
area
yeah.
there between, yep, okay. Yep, and then anything from the sidewalk towards the house then that's fair game for trees?
Yes.
Yep.
Would you have to define some set distance in an instance where there isn't a sidewalk? Like, can't be any closer than 15 or something?
Again, it depends on the width of the right of way. We have different widths in our right of way as well. It's not perfect across the community, so, yeah, we could come up with something like that.
Yeah, I definitely can see the argument that, if you're trying to put in a tree between that small area between your sidewalk and the street, it's just gonna cause havoc either one way or the other. It's either gonna tear up the sidewalk or tear up the street or both. And then along with all the maintenance that has to be done, so that falls to the city do you build them back or do we just,
We trim them,
yeah,
because they grow up into the power lines.
yeah,
So Randy and his crew are trimming every year for that. We're cutting the road back out.
yeah.
We don't build them back, no. We just cut the portion up to what the maximum needed to keep it either away from the power line or from the street, so that it's not, causing a possible hazard.
Yeah, yeah, because if you don't, then the problem can be 10
Yeah.
times as worse.
And we're trimming sidewalks out.
Mhm.
Happens every year.
For the record, this would be for any new trees from this point forward.
Yes.
We're not expecting anybody to take anything.
No.
No.
No, I think we probably have a full audience if we.
Yeah, don't take Richard's.
Quite the
spot.
cannibal.
So,
Yeah, I could definitely go along with that then, if it makes perfect sense. It's, with the amount of cost, not just, of having to fix things that bubble up and break and crumble, but just the annual maintenance of trimming that the city has to take under it. I think that definitely makes sense.
Attorney Riggs, I'm gonna ask you this here, how do we put that into a motion? So, does it come forward from January 12th of 2021 going forward, the entire city is covered with it? How do we?
We need to prepare an ordinance and actually adopt the ordinance. So you'd be basically directing staff to do that. We put it together, bring it back, and you adopt it at the next meeting.
Probably don't have to worry about any tree plants.
Yeah. I think you probably.
Well, that's why I wanted to get it done quick.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
January
We've got a little
12th.
time.
No, I think that if it's a consensus, you can certainly direct staff, and then I can work with Mark and Wayne and the city engineers, and we can come up with some draft, and there may be some final adoption language you may have to look at and say yes or no on, but yeah, we can have an ordinance back next month easily.
So we can just let that set for the time being then, or do we have to have a motion?
You should have a motion to instruct the, city attorney to revise ordinance, 845, regulation of trees to,
Okay.
revise that ordinance to reflect,
The discussion
the
is very
discussion
helpful.
from the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
discussion
okay.
and direction of city council at the January 12th meeting.
I'm not gonna repeat all that,
Yeah.
I'll move it forward. Whatever was just said in the last 2.5 minutes there.
Well, I was hoping somebody would, I didn't have to then. Okay.
Listen is going, okay.
But I will second the motion, how's that sound? Okay, now, we need, Is there any more discussion on it? Let's put it that way. If not, motion has been made and second, and I'm just gonna make it short on 845-01, regulation of trees in the boulevard. Is that for the city of Kenyon?
Fine.
Okay. Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members, Dan Retchell.
Aye.
Tom Guard.
Aye.
Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes pass. Okay. Got off of that one. Okay. We can go then on, is there anything else, Mark, that I'm unaware of? Okay. Let's go on then with old business. Adoption of Administration Policy 32 covering city council issue iPads. Anything on that, Mark, outside?
No, this was talked about at the December meeting. And so we're just trying to come up with basically a policy that would cover the council use of the iPads. You have a copy in your meeting materials. I don't know if there's any questions on any of this. The city attorney reviewed it and was in concurrence with the policy. We have to make a couple of minor tweaks to references to like the Freedom of Information Act and things like that, but no, he had no material change to any of the conditions of the policies, so.
So just a quick question. In fact, I noticed today that it said that it was a pending software update. We're okay allowing
Yeah.
software updates?
You're gonna get iOS updates all the time.
Yeah.
on Apple.
So we don't need to bring them here?
No, no,
Just-
no.
Okay.
No, we have this, what's called a mobile management, mobile management device, mobile device management, MDM. It's a program called JAMF, J-A-M-F. And what it does is it basically, you know, you can do, companies and school districts use this kind of stuff all the time, and they can really restrict what comes and goes from them and things like that. But this is, the main thing it does is allows the city to control, you know, if something happens, you know, we can wipe it remotely. It also allows us to install apps. You know, I can install an app on all of these devices, you know, things like that. So for us, it's more of a minimal thing, but I think it's very important to help us, you know, keep tabs on, keep track of them. We can't, I know some of you asked me, can we monitor what you see on them? Absolutely not. I can't, you know, see what apps you download. I can't see what you're looking at a given time. None of that kind of stuff. It's just really dealing more with the operating system and the apps that are installed on there.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't bother me if you could. It's a public,
Yeah, I'm just
it's
saying.
not my
but-
iPad, it's the
Yep,
city,
yep.
so.
Yeah.
you
But
know,
we can't see anything
Yeah.
like that, so.
But you'd be fine if you could, as far as I'm concerned.
When the updates come through, it's not like we have to approve them or anything, right? It's automatic?
Yeah, it may ask you sometimes say install whatever. Usually it does it at night or whatever,
That, I
so.
want to make sure
you
that I'm
shouldn't have
saying
to-
yes to the right thing.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do anything.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good, okay.
Well, if you're like me, I have to bring it down to Mark, help me get it going, so. He can
No problem.
see what's out there.
Yep.
So. Okay, we need a motion on that or whatever. Any more discussion on it from anybody? It's been pretty well discussed. So we need, make a motion on that. Who would like to?
I motion that we adopt Administrative Policy 32 covering city council issued iPads.
I second.
Okay. Motion has been made and second, adoption of administration policy 32 covering iPads. Mayor Henke is an aye. Council members, Dan Retchell.
Aye.
Tom Guard.
Aye.
Molly Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, third passed. Okay, then we can go into to new business. Resolution 2021-02, authorizing the acceptance of 2020 donations. Is there anything in that, Mark?
This is just a statutory requirement that cities have to, councils have to accept donations. So this is an annual total of the donations the city received in 2020. Many of these donations, maybe went to the fire department, police department, things like that. But that's just an aggregate of all the donations the city received last year.
Thanks.
Well, that's an easy one. I'll make the motion on that one for resolution 2020-02. Have a second on it?
Second?
Okay. Motion has been made and second on resolution 2020-02.
2021,
And mine says 20, so it does,
No, it's a typo.
should say 21.
21, should say.
Okay. Typing error,
Yep.
so. Okay. Mayor Hinkey is an aye. Council members, Ann Richardo,
Aye.
Tom Guard,
Aye.
Raleigh Ryan.
Aye.
Okay, nice pass. Item B is Gunderson House, Minnesota State Historic Preservation Office, summary of final historic structures report, Wold Engineering. Mark, do you have that, or Dana?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of briefly go through the study that was done on the Gunderson House last year. The city received a grant from the State Historic Preservation Office, which paid more than half of the cost of a comprehensive study on the conditions of the Gunderson House. And they put together a report. What you have in the packet is a summary. The actual HSR report is a lot more extensive. So basically, I was just gonna go through this summary a little bit so you have an idea. The Historic Preservation Commission has reviewed this at the October and January meetings. The next step will be to meet with the Kenyon Historical Society and start talking about projects and I think, physical improvement projects to that building, so to that house, historic home. And so that will involve probably trying to get more grant money. But basically what this HSR did was to, first of all, just provide some background on the Gunderson House, which I thought was very interesting. I thought would be good for the council members to kind of see a little bit of the history of this building and its importance to Kenyon, to the area. And there's various architectural recommendations in this. I won't go through every one of these things, but there's exterior grading, there's recommendations on adjusting slope, things like that. Some of that may be a little easier to do. Some of these, obviously, things will be easier to do than others. They also talk about we're doing restoration work to siding and porches. Some of you may recall a few years ago, 2 of the porches were extensively repaired on that house. So this is kind of a continuation of that. They talk about repainting wood, I think replacing wood that's rotted where needed, etc. The roof, there's surface rust, and this is not, as I said in my memo, these items are not in any kind of order of importance. Some of these items are worse than others. So this will be kind of the focus of the discussion with the Historical Society will be what are the things that we want to kind of move ahead with next, and then those things will come back to the council for us to get authorization to move ahead with, like trying to apply for grants and things like that. So they talk about electrical recommendations, installing a new electrical system, or fire protection system, I should say. Basement level footings. There was some footing work done a couple of years ago in there. There was some flooding that happened in the basement. And as a result, there was some new footings put in, new support poles put in, things like that. heating, cooling, ventilation furnace and boiler. The HVAC or heating system was replaced 2018. But there is some ductwork that needs to be added and reconfigured in that building to make it more energy efficient. So this may be another one of what I call more front and center item, partly because it'll be easy to deal with, I think, from a cost standpoint. So electrical recommendations, replacing knob and tube wiring, abandoning those and putting in new wiring. I won't go through that in great detail, but I think that's pretty obvious if any of you have been in there. Things to the water heater, piping, plaster ceilings need to be repaired on the inside. There's cracks which come with age and things like that with such a large structure. Second level interior, plaster ceilings and tile can use attention. They talk about repairing plaster ceilings, repairing and stabilizing tiles in the bathroom walls and floors. And then the next steps, applying for grants for historic buildings again through the state, and any other sources that might be identified that could help us out. So that's about it. I don't know if there's any questions on that. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit tonight, so you kind of know what's going on there with studying with Gunderson House. And you'll be hearing more about that, I think, coming up later this year. So it's just information at this time. There's no action that would be needed from the council.
Any questions or comments to be made?
No, the Historic Preservation Committee met earlier this evening and we went through the report, and our plan is to have the Historical Society members meet with Mark and look at our next steps forward. We're submitting some grants to get some of those needs taken care of.
Okay, well, that's nice to know. Thank you, Dan, for the update. Good, Mark.
Sure.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll go on to item C, which is declare fire engine number 3, truck number 660 as excess equipment. And I think we will go with Wayne on that a little bit, and then Mark, you want to fill in?
Yep.
Engine 3 currently will not pass the NFPA pump inspection. We put a lot of money into that truck for like the last 10 years or so. And we feel the repairs, the estimate is about $3,200. It kind of exceeds the value of the truck. So we were just talking about putting it up for sale and getting what we could for it, but we still could get something for it. It will not affect our insurance ratings or anything like that with our other 2 engines. It was kind of talked about when we got that new engine several years ago, selling it then, but we just kept it. So it's just kind of an unneeded deal, and we figure if we sell it, it would save us some money.
Is that a tanker or?
It's an engine.
Could you use it in the street department for water, for hauling water or anything?
Not really.
It's the cost of the needed improvements or needed repairs exceed the value of the asset. And we've had that thing sitting in reserve for a number of years, but it's time to,
Okay.
my recommendation is it's time to, sell it, dispose of it.
Have you any idea where you wish, to go through it as is, where it is? Or
Yeah, probably maybe an auction type of thing, or through, like Marings or somebody like that, I think.
I talked to Kevin briefly on it, and if we get it cleaned up, you take pictures, post it online, and that would go nationwide.